Just how many Moana movies can they make? Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be ranking the 3 films of the Moana franchise as part of my franchise Rankography series. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and recommendations. So what is a rankography exactly? Well, it's my ranking of a filmography, whether that be a director's output, an actor's appearances, or even an entire franchise. My rankographies are based on personal preference, and I rank movies according to how much I enjoyed them, rather than any specific technical merit or attribute. Remember, this is just my ranking, not the ranking, so be sure to post your own personal ranking of the Moana franchise in the comments below. You know, for most franchises, I struggle at least a little bit when deciding on the ranking. Occasionally, there's an obvious placement for one of the films, but usually a case can be made for a variety of rankings. Well, we've hit a franchise that, at least for me, has a very clear-cut ranking, and I suspect that a lot of people are probably gonna agree with me on this one. Moana is a very young franchise. I don't mean in terms of the target audience, but rather its recency. The animated original was released a mere decade ago, but this didn't actually become a franchise until the release of its sequel at the end of 2024. And now we already have a live-action remake of the original, fast-tracking Disney's usual animated to live-action pipeline. I have thoughts. Most of them are mixed, but I can say I'm not particularly excited about the precedent this franchise seems to be setting. I've already reviewed all 3 of these movies on this channel, so if you want to check those out for some more in-depth thoughts on each of them, I'll put links in the description below and also link them up in the cards as we go along. Alright, let's get this rankography started. Coming in at number 3, Moana, the 2026 remake. Well, I'm sure this is a surprise to absolutely nobody. I just don't even know what to say about this anymore. I realize people's opinions on Disney's live-action remakes vary a bit, but I think we can all agree that they're generally met with a negative reception. And I get it. These remakes are perceived to be unnecessary, creatively bankrupt cash grabs. And for the most part, I agree. I always give them a chance, and even though none have been better than the originals, some of them have been okay, usually adding or changing something or trying to appeal to a new generation. But man, what are we doing here? This is a live-action remake of a film that came out only 10 years ago. It's not trying to appeal to a new generation like the Golden Age, Silver Age, or even Renaissance era remakes did. It's the exact same audience as before, none of whom even wanted the remake. Like I said, I try to give the live-action remakes a fair chance. So when they utilize interesting new technology, or add storylines and subplots, or throw in a new song or two, or even try to present the same story with a new perspective, I give them a bit of credit. But Moana doesn't have any of that. In the past, I've been frustrated hearing people call most of the other live-action remakes shot-for-shot remakes, because they're not. They're very similar, but most aren't actually shot-for-shot. But Moana? This is about as close as you can get to a shot-for-shot live-action facsimile of an animated movie. Catherine Langa'aya gives a solid performance as Moana, and the film inherently benefits from the strong story provided to it by the original movie, but that's pretty much where the praise ends. This isn't a story that lends itself to live action particularly well, and the CGI and extensive green screen don't come close to the animation of the 2016 film. Really, this is a lifeless and exceedingly flat copy, adding nothing to the original, but removing almost all of the charm. Coming in at number 2, Moana 2. Well, here we've got another easy placement for this franchise. The original film was a big hit and became an especially popular streaming leader, so I totally understand the desire for a sequel, both on the part of fans and Disney. Unfortunately, the delivery was less than stellar. Up until the last few years, theatrically released Disney animated sequels were a rare breed. Most of these sequels were instead released direct-to-video. The 90s and 2000s were the Disney DTV heyday, with nearly 20 classics getting belated sequels. DTV has since given way to streaming, and movies have begun to give way to limited series, so it's unsurprising that after the 2016 film's success, a Moana Disney Plus show was greenlit. However, with less than a year of production to go, this 5-episode series was converted into a theatrically released movie instead, an 11th-hour decision that really shows. Moana 2, unsurprisingly, feels very episodic. They tried to force the show into a film structure, but the cracks are glaringly apparent. And with its jumpy disconnection, this now overly rushed story is simply incompatible with a movie format and length. Moana and Maui were a big part of what made the first movie so compelling, and yet here, they're separated for more than half of the film. And even when they do finally team up, that relationship they had and their natural chemistry just isn't really there anymore. There are also too many characters this time around, with a lot of story focus being devoted to Moana's new crew. They probably would have worked better in the original series format, but end up being another structural hindrance here in this movie. I will say, though, things aren't all bad here. The animation is still stunningly lush and colorful. It may be a slight step down from the first movie, but it's still pretty good considering the last-minute format shift. I also kind of prefer the premise of this one, with a slightly older Moana traveling around trying to unite islands. But still, one can't help but be at least a little bit disappointed by this Moana-be sequel. Moana's a character that deserved a lot better, and this is a movie that could have been a lot better had they just taken their time on it. So that means my number one Moana film is Moana, the 2016 original. Shocking, I know. Well, at least we've got a ranking where people won't be completely up in arms in the comments about my number one choice. Obvious number one film here given this franchise, but I should admit that I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I like it and never have a bad time when I'm watching it, but it's also not one that I ever feel compelled to pull off the shelf and pop in my Blu-ray player. Instead, I'm always a bit conflicted with this one. There's a lot to like here. For one, the animation is great. This opts for Disney's modern, smooth and rounded, cartoonish look, which is admittedly not my personal favorite animation style, but it's impressive to look at nonetheless. It's bright and colorful, and the water is phenomenally animated. The movie's also got some solid music with a catchy tune or two, some fun comedic elements, an interesting central relationship, and an adventurous touch to it. Moana is also extremely formulaic. So formulas aren't inherently a bad thing. They can provide a structural framework for audiences to latch onto, and Disney has been making use of them for decades, especially for their coming-of-age stories, something that makes Moana feel all the more familiar. This is the story of a teenage girl wishing to break free from the expectations and confines of her life, rebelling against and disobeying a protective parent in the process. We've seen this formula used over and over again. The Little Mermaid, Pocahontas, Mulan, Tangled. Throw in some catchy songs and a cute animal sidekick or two, and you've got yourself a Disney animated hit. Moana checks all of these formulaic boxes, and feels a bit like an amalgamation of past Disney movies, but it works, for the most part. The scaffolding is the same, but it does have its own unique refreshing elements, namely the setting and its affectionate and respectful incorporation of Polynesian culture. So even though it'll never be in the upper echelon of Disney movies for me, I still think it's a very strong film, and I can fully understand people's love for it. Alright, so that's my rankography of the Moana franchise. 3 movies, 1 unnecessary remake, and a whole lot of questions. What does your ranking look like? I'd love to see some reasoning for your order, so be sure to post it in the comments below. Remember, I've already reviewed all 3 of these movies, so you can check those videos out if you want some more in-depth discussion of each, as well as my ratings, pros and cons, and even tailored film recommendations. And if you're interested in buying any of these movies, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy on one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies or anything else. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this rankography, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe or at it to see more rankographies like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.